Hello and welcome to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. My guest today is Andrea Porter. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you are an author.
Yes.
And you have authored how many books so far?
3 novels.
3 novels. I think that's wonderful. In fact, that deserves a round of applause in itself. Writing is not always an easy thing.
No, it's not. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And now, your books are actually about relationships, which is what our show is about tonight. So I thought it would be perfect to have you on the show as we talked about your 3 books. Now, the first book that you authored was called Love is All We're After. Tell me a little bit about that.
Love is All We're After. Okay. When I originally started writing that novel, I was going through a divorce at the time. And I needed something to help me with my, therapy to help me through it instead of going the route that most people go. You get divorced, you get bitter. I wanted to do something different in my life. And Love is All We're After is about a young lady, well, actually 3 young women who are college sweethearts. They've known each other for, practically all their lives.
Okay.
One of them decided to become celibate and walk that path of, that Christian walk where, you're living for God, you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to make sure that when you do find that right guy, you don't offer yourself to him before marriage. She's trying to do something different because she's always been that female that you go to the club, you meet the guy, you take him home.
Do.
Yeah. And then the relationship doesn't work out.
Okay.
Second part of that is she have 2 girlfriends. One of them is married and has been married since really college. But the kicker, the twist in the story is these are all friends. But the third friend is having a relationship with one of the ladies' husbands.
Okay.
So you have Candy.
Web we weave.
Yes. You have Candy, Lisa, and Mona. And Mona is having a relationship with Lisa's husband. And they've been having a relationship since college. So this is an ongoing thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it sounds kind of throw it off when you actually hear the story, but that happens in real life.
It does. It does.
And it's that type of thing, oftentimes, that can ruin relationships.
It is.
And so we want to talk a little bit more about second chances after you've made a mistake in a relationship, which is the second book.
Well, that's the sweet part. Even though Lisa's husband, John, had an affair with her friend Mona, and Lisa was at the point where she was going to leave him. She had met someone, and she thought that's what she wanted. She needed to be with someone who see her because her husband no longer saw her. And of course, she went through the whole, when you go through a relationship breaking up and it's going to lead to divorce, it's painful. It's hurtful. It leaves a dull ache inside of you that you feel that you need another person to help you with that, but really you don't need another person.
Okay.
What you need to do is heal. And so she tried to cultivate a new relationship with this guy, but it didn't work out because in the midst of all of that, she found a relationship with God because of her friend Candy, who decided to walk that walk of celibacy.
Right.
And so during that time, she learned about what God said about marriage, what God says about infidelity, and about forgiveness. And so in that process, she learned how to forgive her husband, and they actually got back together.
Really?
They actually worked it out.
Wow. I would call that the power of forgiveness, which is not always an easy thing to do, especially when there's been some form of infidelity involved in that particular relationship.
Yeah.
But forgiveness has a lot of power, and it
does.
carries a lot of weight when the other person has truly repented of what they've done and truly let go of that old baggage that actually caused the demise of the relationship in the beginning.
Exactly.
So forgiveness certainly is very, very important. Now, I want to ask you, now you were married before and you were going through a divorce and this, that, and the other. That was the inspiration for the writing, or have you always wanted to write?
My first book that I actually read as a child was by Mark Mathabane. I think it's called Kaffir Boy.
Okay.
And I've been, reading a lot of different novels. I love reading. And, every time I read a book, I say, I can write that. I can do that, And so when I went through the divorce, I had that opportunity. And, I prayed to God. I said, you know what, Lord, I want to write.
Yeah.
And it started out where, I was writing the Eric Dickie Jerome type stuff. I thought I was going to, write this lustful stuff and, I was going to get all, no. I was like almost to the end of my book.
Okay.
And God was like, no. You know how to write, but that's not what I want you to write.
Okay.
Now you get to do it over. And that's how this was birthed.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And that's, I would say, so I would certainly call that obedience.
It is, because can you imagine, this is over 300 pages of writing.
Wow.
And then you have to redo it. And then even at the end of it, I had a little bit of stuff in there that really shouldn't be in a Christian novel.
Okay.
And so my editor, it's crazy because she was so scared to tell me, Andrea, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take out this. You don't remember when you were a kid in school and your teacher would put red ink all over your paper?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she did. She red inked me. And she was like, we're going to change this, we're going to change this, we're going to change this. So it was a process. It was a process to get to where, it was the type of book that I would like to produce and be happy about, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now.
Right. Well, you know what? The first thing in getting anything done is to take a first step.
Yes.
And so it's a beautiful thing to know that you started with love is all we're after. Second chance at love. Third book, to hell with love. All right? Now, I know y'all wasn't expecting that from this Christian author. But hell is in the Bible.
It is.
And my sister here says, to hell with love. So, tell me a little bit about to hell with love.
Oh my God.
To hell with
Not
love.
on the spot.
Uh-huh.
It has a twist. It's really not what you think. The title is what grabs people.
Right.
But there is an actual great story in this. It's where, Gina, she has gone from engagement to engagement to engagement to engagement. And she just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results.
Right.
And then she just got to a point to where, when you get to be sick and tired and just sick and tired. And so she got to that point where I'm sick of love. Because the last relationship she was in, she was doing everything right. But yet the guy cheated on her anyway.
Yeah.
And so after he did that, she was like, okay, to hell with it. But the crazy thing is when you get to that point of to hell with love, you never know when real authentic love is going to be around the corner.
Yeah.
And so, of course, with her, she has so much baggage, she has so much bitterness, so much hate and anger that she was at that point when that guy showed up for her, that right guy, that guy that wants to do the right thing by her. She didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
She got it in the palm of her hand and she was like, to hell with it. So she ran him off. But the good thing about it, and I can't tell you the end of it, is when she did that, she found herself because she realized that out of all of the guys that she's dated, he was the only one who stuck by her.
Yeah.
With all the craziness, with all of the schizophrenia is what I call it, bipolar disorder.
All that.
And so if I tell you what happened to her, you're going to get an ending. But it worked out.
It worked out.
It worked out.
And a lot of times things do work out when you give them a second chance and you don't give up.
No.
A lot of times you have to keep on pushing and pursuing that which you desire.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're at the end of that rope, when you just really feel like throwing the towel in and saying, to hell with love, the right person comes along in your life, so don't give up. We're going to be back in just a moment. You guys stick around with more. We're coming back.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames. Sky Trues.
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Pharaoh Phelps Show. For those of you that might have just joined us, I have Andrea Porter, the author of the book, Love is All We're After, Second Chance at Love, and guess what? To Hell with Love. I found all those to be very interesting titles.
I think you love to say that.
I love to say to hell with love. There's somebody just make it feel good. But now, you know, most of the times I know that when an author pens a book, there are certain things that trigger them to pen it, be it relationships of their own, this, that, and the other. I want to talk to you a little bit about your relationship and the demise of your marriage. Some of the things that actually were deal breakers in that situation for you.
Deal breakers, not being honest. The reason why I went through a divorce is my husband cheated on me.
Okay.
And when he cheated on me, he did not respect my intelligence, because I already knew that he cheated, so I gave him an opportunity to be honest.
Okay.
Because at that point, I would have forgiven him and we could have gone to counseling and worked it out.
Okay.
But instead, he did not respect my intelligence.
Okay.
And, you know, women have a built-in GPS system. It tells you when something is off. You don't have to go searching for it. The great thing about it, it will just unravel in front of you. And when it did, and I gave him the opportunity to come to me and just, you know, just lay it on the table.
Okay.
Just, you know, tell me what's wrong with our marriage, what do we need to fix, how do we need to fix it, and let's move on. And he just continually just lied.
Okay.
You know, he would have an excuse for everything that I actually brought to the table.
Okay.
And a woman don't ask you things if she don't already know the answer. We all know this.
Y'all got
You know?
game. They got game.
Yeah. If we're asking you this
Game.
question, it's because we already have the answer. We're just trying to give you a
We're trying to
chance.
trick you and see if you
No,
can.
we're not, it's not a trick. It's we're trying to give you we're giving you the opportunity to be an honest man. Because, you know, it says to death do us part. That's in sickness and health, everything. That means honesty too. Put it all on the line. You love me that much, put it all on the line. Because whether or not you tell me the truth or you lie to me, two things are going to happen. One, either I'm going to stay with you or I'm going to leave you. Respect me enough to tell me and give me the opportunity to make that decision to stay with you. And he did not do that.
Okay.
Because he knew I wouldn't have left. Because this wasn't his first time. It wasn't his first time.
Okay.
This was just the first time that he got really, really caught.
Okay.
All the other times were
You had
just...
some suspicion.
Yes.
You had some confirmation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You know, I say God will allow people to just be caught. You know, he walked through the door, he left his phone. I don't go through people's phone. When your phone rings, I don't answer it. But that one day, it just rang, and I answered it.
Right.
Which is not normal for me. And so when I answered, of course,
that's what you got.
that's what I got.
Wow.
And I got more than I bargained for. You know, and so
that was what it was.
that's what it was.
You know, what I found interesting, we had a little bit of dialogue off camera actually, and you said one of the things that you practice is not carrying baggage into the new relationships. And that's really a challenge for people because a lot of times we are our experience and we carry our experience throughout life. So I want to ask you, how did you come to a place where you can totally let go of that which has happened to you in the past and move forward with a clean slate in the next relationship that you have?
When you get sick and tired of all your other relationships failing, when you come to the end of yourself and you realize that you've been in this relationship, and everything is happening, you go back and you sit down and you take a tally of all the things that you've done, not them, you have done, and you basically realize that, you know, you have habits. People have habits that they bring into relationships and don't realize that they have these habits.
Yeah.
And you go back and you find, you know, what have I been doing that is giving me the same results? It's like I've been practicing insanity because they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Expecting different results. And so my last relationship was my last relationship because I realized that I needed to deal with some things in me before I bring it into a relationship. Because even though you may have thought that you actually closed that door to that past, that ex, it have a way of trickling back in.
Right.
And so where I'm at right now is learning to love Andrea completely,
Okay.
learning how to just be by myself, date myself, learn my likes and my dislikes. And it's great because I'm preparing myself for that next relationship. I'm preparing knowing that, whatever his name is, Michael is not John. And John is not Michael.
Yeah.
I can't expect Michael to act like he's John, when
Okay.
Michael is Michael.
Okay, got you. And I think that's a good lesson for people to learn. But it's like, how do you get to that place?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. And I think forgiveness is certainly the key to a lot of things in our lives, but it's not always easy to come by. Forgiveness can be really, really challenging. So it takes work to forgive.
I'm going to kill you with another one. Forgetfulness. You've got to let it go.
Let it go.
Totally.
Wow. Well, you know what, Andrea, I have certainly enjoyed you on this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. You have done an excellent job, and I certainly wish you tons of success,
Thank you.
especially with this last book.
Say
Now,
it again.
for more information on how people can contact you, if you don't mind speaking to the camera and letting them know that.
We're on Amazon. You can get us on Barnes & Nobles. You can also visit my personal website. This is my own publishing company. We've actually produced our own work. You can go to www.bmpublications.net, or you can go to my Facebook, which is facebook.com Bold Moves Publications.
All right.
All right.
Fantastic. Now, you guys stick around because this was actually the segue into our co-ed section of the Farrell Phelps Show on relationships. So stick around. We're going to be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. This is actually our co-ed show, and this is the finale of the show. All right. Yeah. This segment of the Farrell Phelps Show has been one of the most exciting segments that we've had thus far on relationships. I have never seen so much and so many opinions that are being dispensed in this particular type of show in this setting. And it's really amazing how so many people have so many different opinions as it relates to relationships. And all of these guests, Mr. Philip Kent, Michelle Landry, Tammy Thompson, are previous guests on the show, and they're coming back today. This is like our reunion show, and it's our co-ed reunion show. So often when you're being interviewed, a lot of times you forget certain things, or you say, dang, after it's over, I wish I would have said, or I wish I could have said. Well, this is the opportunity for everyone to say whatever it is that they might have missed on the previous shows. So we're going to go ahead and get it started with Tammy Thompson. Tammy, after the last show, we had a discussion, and you said a lot of things that you might have missed in the first segment. Now, tell me what one of those things were that was a key and pivotal thing that you thought.
For me, it was very important to put out that as human beings, we're made from love and made to love. That is something that we need to survive. And I think that has been missed in the last show.
As human beings, we're made to love and to be loved. Yeah, well, I think we can all agree on that for sure. But it's how we're being loved, I think, that we need to focus on. And are we being loved in a healthy way?
Right.
And I think a lot of times we're, defining love in ways that are not always the healthiest ways.
And that's where the counseling come in, and the talking to everyone and trying to get an idea of what it looks like. But that's something that everybody yearns for.
Well, I think, God is love.
There you go.
And I certainly think that we all want to be loved in some kind of way, just as long as we're loved in the right way, and that type of thing. Now, we've had some serious talks about relationships and infidelity
Right.
in relationships. We had talks about forgiveness in relationships. But I'm going to ask you, Michelle, what happens when you're not able to forgive?
To me, that tears you apart. Because if you don't forgive, it eats you up inside. And forgiveness is not about the other person. It's really about for yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's what I believe in, you know, because it can tear you apart. It definitely can.
Yeah. And yeah, so I certainly think that forgiveness is important. And a lot of times, I don't know if it's that we just don't know how to forgive, or it's something in us that just keeps us from saying, okay, I forgive, and really forgive. Because I know for myself, and I'll be very transparent, I can say I forgive a person, but in the back of my mind, I'm not really forgiving you, because I'm still looking at you sometimes and I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying? Words I may not want to say right now. Because I have a problem with forgiveness. I'm just going to be honest and be very transparent
I understand
right
that.
now. Forgiveness is one of my biggest challenges. And one day I was in a church service and the pastor said, if there's anybody that you need to forgive, forgive. And I began trying to, go back like, well, I think I've forgiven everybody that I need to forgive. I was like, I can't think of anybody that I need to forgive. And then I started really giving it some thought. And there was someone that I didn't forgive. And I'm going to be very transparent about my unforgiveness and why I felt like I felt at the time. It was a past relationship where the female told me that she was pregnant for me. And the child was born, and I believe the child was my child for a very long period of time. It turned out to be a lie. And I hated her, literally, for years. And relationships that came afterwards, I didn't trust anybody. So forgiveness for me is not always easy. I'm just telling the truth. Because I never wanted to experience what I experienced then. And the sad part is, when you lie to people, the aftermath of that lie trickles down throughout their life. So you're affecting other people with your lie. And when you're a female and you lie to a man and say a child is his and the child is not his, that's dirty as hell. I think that it's best for you as a female to come clean, if in fact that's what you're doing, and you're screwing not just me, but you're screwing Larry, Bob, and Joe, and Willie, and David, and Michael, and just tell the truth. If you are, and I'm just going to say it, because I have to say this, if you're a hoe, stand up and say, you know what, I've been hoeing. I done slept with Michael, Larry, hey, tell the truth. Tell the truth, and go ahead and deal with that truth. Go ahead and deal with that truth, instead of lying to a man and making him believe that. And not only that, but when you lie to your kid, you lie to your child, and you tell your child all of their life, that this man is your father, and your child is grown, and you're still lying to your child, saying that this child is your father. It's dirty, and it's wrong. Come clean and tell your child the truth, especially when I have presented DNA papers that prove you lied. So when we talk about relationship and we talk about trust and forgiveness, and I'm just being honest and being as transparent as I can be right now, that to me was one of the most detrimental things that happened in my life. And I actually thought it was over with when the young lady, who was a beautiful, sweet young girl, turned 12 years old. I thought it was over with. But when that person gets in their 20s and they still come back to you and say, but mama still say that you're my father. Come on, man.
Well, what happens is you can't forgive because your hurt
Mm-hmm.
proceeds. You have to stop hurting. You understand?
And I do understand. And I also understand how it affected the rest of my life. And a few years ago, I was going through this process of the forgiveness thing that we were talking about. And so I started saying, okay, who can I forgive? Who can I forgive? And I realized, okay, that's somebody that I really need to forgive. And so I really started trying. And as much as I tried, in the back of my mind, it stayed there. And I think that it stayed there because the beautiful young girl that I'm speaking of still came to me saying that, no, but this is what Mama said.
Do you
You
have
follow
a
me?
relationship now? The lady that you thought was your daughter, do y'all have some type of
Well, you know,
relationship?
we're cool with each other.
Okay.
We're cool with each other. And you know what? It's never a kid's fault.
No.
And I say this all the time. Adults jack up the lives of kids. They do. They do. But when you're wrong about something, you just need to come clean with it. Say, hey, so and so and so, and you know. And I don't want to keep talking about it, but I'm just being transparent with y'all right now, so that you'll know my truth.
Right.
You know.
But you shouldn't need her to come clean for you to forgive her.
It's true.
You see? And if it means that you have to let go of the girl that you're cool with, then that's what it is.
And I can appreciate that perspective. I can certainly appreciate that
You know,
perspective.
it's love and war. There is casualty.
And there are certainly casualties. But my hope, you know, my hope is that somebody learned something from the mistake that I made, and that even other women that are out there who may have been in a relationship at a young age and became pregnant, be honest with the man. You know, be honest with the man.
But sometimes they can't be honest, because if you're sleeping with multiple partners, you really don't know who it is. And the one you really want it to be, you know, because of the character of that man, and because of who that man is, you are in a dreamland, like wishing that's that man. However, the truth of the matter is that, you know, not everybody, I don't want to tell everybody that I sleep around. You know, I
Right.
don't want to, you don't want to have that image, you know, to come across. So you find yourself trying to pick that person. We see it all the time. I mean, you are not the father. you know.
Right? Like Maury Povich. Huh?
Yeah, you know, look at his nose, look at his eyes. You know.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day,
It's sad,
you know, it's sad. It's
It's
definitely
very
sad.
sad, really.
But that's just the human part of people. You know, we want to be in this perfect situation, in this perfect scenario. However, we're in this jacked up lifestyle to where we're sleeping around and we
Right.
messing with this person. And, you know, personal experience,
Yeah.
you know, for me, put me in that position. So I can see it from the point of view of the lady, you know, not being the devil's advocate.
Right, I understand.
But, you know, when you look at yourself, you know, you're a good guy, you know, you work hard. And most times that's the guy you want. But because you are not, you know, you're under construction. You know, all of us are under this construction. You know, we got this yellow tape going around us saying,
Right.
you know, I'm not finished. You know, and there's a saying, please be patient with me.
Right.
God is not through with me yet.
Right.
So when you look at it from that point of view, we all make mistakes.
Right.
And the reason why that girl is attached to you is because all the other men are jacked up. I guarantee you that you come across as that guy that, ooh, I wish that was my father, I wish that was my father. And her mom is saying, that is your father, that is your father, and not telling her the truth. But at the end of the day, you never know what impression you may make on her life, because telling her the truth and pushing her away can be detrimental to her life.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I certainly agree with what you said. And that's what this is all about. Getting it out, talking about it, being transparent, and being true.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in just a moment with more of the Farrell Phelps Show. You guys stick around. We'll be back.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames. Sky Trues.
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. Needless to say, the relationship show always get heated because there's some real stuff going on. I like the authenticity of the panel, and so if I'm expecting them to be authentic, then I too have to be authentic and say, you know, some situations about myself as well. So that was what you guys heard in the last segment. Now moving on. What's one, I'm going to ask you, Philip, what's one of the things that you can do in a relationship to actually strengthen a relationship?
Man, I always say spontaneous events. You know, just do things spontaneous. You don't have to plan it. You know, let's just drive to the beach. You know, and watch the moon. You know,
Right.
you have to do spontaneous things. You know, and it can't be ordinary things. Shooting pool, that's ordinary.
Yeah.
You know, going to the movies, people do that all the time.
Right.
You have to do something like, hey, let's just drive to Louisiana or New Orleans and hang out. You know,
Yeah.
do some things that's going to be fun
And memorable.
and memorable,
Yeah.
but unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so my wife and I, we do little silly things like that.
Okay.
Especially our children are older. When they were younger, you know, you had to find a babysitter, you had to plan things.
Mhm.
Right.
But when you really get into a relationship and there's no responsibility when it comes to your
It's just
children,
you.
it's just you.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the time when you're supposed to let your hair down. Of course, I don't have any. But we do spontaneous things where we just, I mean, I can't tell you everything because we're on TV.
And you know what? I think that's very important. And one of the things that I've learned too is sometimes the best things in life are free.
Right.
You know, and so often we think we have to spend all this money to
Right.
do this and that. Sometimes a beautiful sunset,
Yeah.
you know, laying in the grass with a bottle of wine.
Right.
You know, some of the smallest, simplest things are the most beautiful and memorable things.
Yeah.
So I think that's important that we keep those types of things in mind as well. Now I do want to, yeah. I would love you to.
I have a friend who I'm dating now, and last weekend we went out to eat. It was a real simple dinner, and I told him, hey, can we just drive around Houston? That's all I want to do. He said, sure, no problem. We drove downtown, not too close to Kemah. You know, we just drove around Houston toward our side, his side, going back down memory lane, you know, when we grew up. Yeah, do you remember this
Yes,
spot
I
or whatever?
do, yeah.
That was the best fun for me.
Yeah.
And it was a simple drive,
Yeah.
you know?
You know, and a lot of times too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think when you take those types of moments, you actually get to learn more about a person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it can be very intimate without the full intimacy.
That conversation.
Exactly.
And you know, which a lot of times leads to.
Yes, it does.
You know, well, that is. So, but that's how you lead to, you know, other good intimate moments in that relationship. And when I say intimate, I know we're all adults. We know that's sexual.
Yeah.
With the person that's destined for you and for your life. I'm not saying just go ahead and have it. But a lot of times, and we're adults again. The sexual part starts before you ever walk into
Yes,
the
sir.
door of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's through perhaps phone calls throughout the day. You know, like you said, just a nice ride around town, just you know, taking a ride to Louisiana, whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of times it starts before then. So by the time you get there,
Yeah.
then like they say, it's on and popping.
Yeah.
So, and that's just, you know, real talk. You know, Tammy, I want to ask you, what are one of the things that you think would enhance or enrich a relationship?
I would say transparency, just being honest about everything. I think no one could learn you or love you if they don't know the real you. So if you were just be honest about who you are,
Right.
you know, that gets, you know, some level of intimacy. You get closer, you know, people sympathize, some things are funny, you know,
Right.
you develop a stronger bond,
Right.
just showing your true you.
Right. Well, I certainly agree. Yeah, and you know what? I think being honest in a relationship is certainly a great brick to the foundation that makes it strong, if that makes any sense. And when you don't have that honesty or that integrity, then it falls apart. You know, it's just like a house built on a poor foundation, and then an earthquake comes. It's probably the first house that's going to crumble.
Right.
But if you build it on something that's solid,
Yeah.
then it makes all the difference. And a lot of times, solidity comes with a good, strong foundation. It's like they're hand in hand, you know? And a lot of times, too, you can't be afraid to tell your truth
Right.
in that relationship. And I think a lot of times people hold back on telling their
That's right.
truth based on the fact that they may get rejected by the other person.
It's a level of trust.
It's a level of trust, but it's a beautiful thing when you can just tell it the way it is, and either that person accepts you and receives you, or they reject you. And if they do reject you, then you just know someone is better for you that's out there.
That's right.
All right? Yeah, y'all know we can have this conversation all day long.
Right.
Needless to say. But I know there's other people who want to interject something. So is there a question from an audience member? Yes, Melissa.
I have a question for Tammy.
Yes.
It's a love question.
Okay.
Now, you said that really we're all longing for love.
Right.
Now, everyone does not love the same. So if you have two people and the other is not loving the other one the way they want to be loved, is it possible that it's true love if you have to voice how you want to be loved if it's not coming naturally?
No. That's not possible. True love is something that is felt. You cannot be taught that. So when I'll use a dog, a pet. You come through the door, that pet shows you unconditional love. He doesn't speak your language. He doesn't understand. You can't explain to him how to love you, but you feel it. It's the same way with people. True love is something that you feel. It's not something you can be taught.
Now, you know what, and I want to piggyback off of what you just said when you said true love cannot be taught. I think that sometimes in relationships, not so much teaching love, but sometimes you have to tell the person what it is that you like and what you appreciate. They may love you, but they may not know how you want to be loved.
Well, that's a different question.
You know,
That's a
and when I say
different question.
how you want to be loved, that's mean like, baby, I would appreciate it when I come to the door, you give me a hug.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's not saying that one or the other is right or wrong, but I'm simply saying that sometimes you have to tell people what it is that you want. That's where a good, strong communication comes into play.
That's what
Or it makes me feel like this when you do that.
Yeah.
Or it makes me feel like
about
this.
love language. That's
Yes.
different. You're saying the way I believe you love me is if you do this, this, and that. Pure, true love you feel.
Mhm.
You would just rather that person tell you more that they love you, or when you come through the door say something to you. But that is not saying that they don't love you. You already know this. You just
Okay.
want to take it a step further for you because you want to feel
A
a
certain
little
way.
bit more
Mhm.
the way you talk. So you have to learn people's love language.
Mhm.
But pure, true love is just that. It is just that. It's something you feel. You
Okay.
don't have to even speak. You could be laying there together, nobody's even touching or talking, and you feel that. You could be in one part of the house and your mate comes home and you didn't hear the door or anything, but you feel them in the house. You understand? That connection is just, I'm sorry if no one has
No,
experienced that before,
I understand
but
that.
that is some serious stuff.
But doesn't it take a little work? You know how they say marriages work?
That
and marriage
comes
is
back
love,
again
you
from
know?
what we were saying before, being honest in the beginning and transparent. So he knows you, you know him, all your flaws, your dislikes, all of these things supposed to happen in your dating, right? So when it gets to love, because I don't believe you could meet someone and fall in love the first. I don't believe in that. Love is not a physical thing. Love is something you grow. You have to go through things with people. You feel that, you know?
Okay.
So,
All right. And that's the beauty of having these types of discussions and this type of dialogue. Now, there's someone actually that's in the audience that wants to give a comment. Darshell.
I wanted to talk about forgiveness because I think we touched on that a bit. And from my experience, I'm not going to say that this is the Bible per se, but I believe that forgiveness, there's not a button that you push and you think about something that's happened or something that someone's done to you, and then you say, okay, I'm just going to forgive them and it's over with. It doesn't work like that because we are human and our brains don't work that way. Our souls don't work that way. When we're wounded, when we're hurt, that hurt becomes a part of our person. So forgiveness then is really giving up your right to be right. I'm right. What you did to me was wrong. I'm right. But I'm giving up my right to be right. And every time that comes back, I consciously make a decision. I'm giving up my right to be right so I can be free.
To let it go.
That's
And that's what this is all about. You know, growing, learning, listening, which is very important in any type of relationship, that we learn to listen. I think that's oftentimes what people miss too. You hear people, but you don't listen to them. And listening is very important. Michelle, how do you feel about being heard as opposed to being listened to?
Because those are two different definitions, definitely. I think I've been heard, but I haven't been listened to. And that's probably why my past relationships did not work. You know, I kept telling that person or persons or whatever, you know, this is what I like, this is what I want. You know, let's do this or let's do that to try to make the relationship a success. But they really didn't listen. You see what I'm saying? And that just hurts you. And then you get tired being, as we spoke of earlier, being repetitive.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. I can't, like, if it doesn't fit, like you said, you know, just let it be. Don't force it, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I think also when you learn to listen to someone, it validates you as well. It lets you also know that they care enough about you to listen to whatever your concern is, or whatever your concern has been as it relates to the relationship.
Right.
We need to be listened to. And so often in relationship, you have somebody that says so much that nobody's actually being listened to. And that's not going to help you to grow. You know, listen to me and try to understand where I am. Understanding is another big thing. Understand where I am. Understand what I'm feeling right now. Even if you don't like it, just try to put yourself in my position. And say, okay, okay, you know what? I see. Because there's always different angles to every circumstance. There's not just one view.
You know what a turn on can be too? When that person is asking questions and then the next day they remember what y'all discussed and they say, you know what, I remember. I'm going to do this. And to me, that is a turn on right there. That this person's really listening to me.
Yeah.
He cares.
And I think ultimately we all want to feel like somebody cares about us. Ultimately, that's what we want to feel. You know, I've been, needless to say, enjoying this dialogue with such wonderful people. And you know what? We're going to be back in just a moment with more of the Farrell Phelps Show. And we're going to bring back more guests. You guys stick around. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. This is the second portion of our co-ed show. Welcome to the show, everybody. I have with me, of course, my former guest from the Relationship Show. I have Mr. Rock Living. My girl, Melissa Slade. And Miss Norma Williams. Needless to say, we've had some heated discussions about relationships. And boy, you know what? I can do this show all day because it's so entertaining. And not only is it entertaining, but we're learning something in the process. Right. And I think that's the beautiful thing about anything that we do when we're able to learn something from it. Now, Rock, you were on the last section where we had just the men. Right. Now, is there anything that you feel like you missed saying in that particular segment of the show?
Just that I feel as if any problematic situation that's brought about in a relationship, it's always a two-way street, you know, because it always goes back to communication. As far as, you know, the energy that you bring, whether it be in the form of your thought, things that you say, the way you say it, you know, the way you express your feelings to your mate, to your spouse, whatever your situation is, that plays a big part in reaching a resolution. Because when you're having discussions and you're seeking a resolution, if you're constantly escalating, you know, becoming volatile, using profanity, which was the situation in my case. Right. And I'm the type of person that will withdraw. I'll sit back and look at you like you're crazy, you know, and just wait for you to calm down. And by that time, if you're continuing to escalate, I'll walk away from you. Okay. And that's going to cause my spouse to further escalate, you know, that's something I learned in counseling. You know,
Okay.
we did go through a few counseling sessions
Okay.
after our situations within the marriage.
Right.
And that's where I needed to work on. I needed to work on expressing myself, just not matching her volatility. You know.
Okay.
So, and that's one thing I did learn. And I got to that point to where I did express myself, but because she was so egocentric, ego-driven, that it didn't agree with what she said, she continued to escalate.
Wow.
And that was a problem for us. So I'm just saying, just in general, the way you communicate is vital to reaching a resolution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, which leads me to this: baggage in relationships.
Yes.
Melissa, how do you feel about baggage in relationships, and how do you release baggage?
Well, I believe, and it goes right back to forgiveness. Baggage is unforgiveness. In my opinion, if you carry on what someone has done to you, that's considered baggage. So really what we have to do is forgive that person in order for ourselves to be free. So once you're free and you have forgiven that person, it actually helps you in your next relationship. And like it was said before, sometimes you may have to give yourself some time to get rid of the baggage before you carry on into another relationship. So really, baggage is just, it's a weight. It's a weight on your mind. It's a weight on your relationships. Even it could even carry on to your family members, because you can carry such a hurt for something that happened to you in your childhood that goes on into your relationship. So if you just learn how to forgive and know that it's really not a choice, you really have to. You really have to forgive in order to move on with and have a healthy relationship.
That's how you heal. That's how you
Exactly.
heal by forgiveness.
You heal by forgiveness. Yes. You know what? We have so much to talk about as it relates to relationships. And when we come back, Norma, we're going to talk to you in just a moment. All right, you guys stick around. We'll be back in just a moment.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames. Sky Trues!
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show with my wonderful guest. Yeah, like I said, we are talking about some good stuff. I mean, and yeah, it's adult stuff, it's real stuff, and it's the things that's actually happening in this world today, man. You know, now we left off talking about, is it best for two virgins to marry, or is it best to have some type of experience prior to getting into a relationship? Now, I want to ask you, Rock, what do you think, man?
Me personally.
You personally.
Because I have plenty of experience in the sexual arena with the woman, and it's like, for me to continue to move on, I have to be able to test the water. But at the same time, you have to not go into the waterfall. If that makes any sense. Whereas it's like,
You can't make a waterfall. But
no, it's not that you can't make the waterfall.
Right.
It's a matter of don't fall into the deep end.
the deep end, right?
You know,
Right.
keep it shallow. You know, think of it more so like a tantric sex experience, where it's like
Right.
you're exposing yourself to the intimacy, but without the actual physical intercourse. You know, so that way that sexual energy that's being built,
Right.
is rising from that root chakra,
Taking it up. Come on now.
and
What?
taking it up to the heart chakra. That way you can understand how the other feels.
Yeah.
And then eventually get to the crown chakra, you're on the same wavelength, have
Come
that
on
same
now.
frequency, know how to communicate with one another.
All right.
You know, So as far as that's concerned, intimacy is necessary,
Okay.
you know, because it's just a buildup of passion that develops over time.
Right.
As you get to know a person, you become more familiar with that person. It gets to the point to where anything from the slightest touch
Is enough.
can start
Like that
vibrating
tingle,
and
just
cause you
kinda like-
resonate.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
Next thing you know, yeah.
it just gets to that, but you have to have control.
Yeah.
You have to have self-control. That is a must.
Exactly.
Man, we learned something tonight. He's talking about the boom shakalaka. It's all kinds of stuff going on. The chakra and the crown and the man. You know, that's a whole other show.
Yes, sir.
Like, can you come back?
I will.
We're gonna learn about this chakra or chakra, whatever. Yeah, we're gonna learn about that. Now, Melissa,
Yes.
do you think it's good for two virgins to marry each other, or you think people need to have an experience? Now, this is what I wonder about, and I wonder if, like, for instance, if one of the people have had sex before, the other person is a virgin, and you get with that person, but they both wait in that particular relationship in order to get married and all this good stuff, and then you discover that it's not what you thought it would be, or you're disappointed, you know, one of the people in our audience actually was talking about size. Actually, Norma, you were talking about does size matter? Earlier, somebody asked you that question. No, somebody asked you that question, and then you brought it to the panel for us to discuss. So, if in a situation like that, if it don't fit like that, and how do you continue in that relationship, Melissa?
Well, there are different scenarios. I do believe that it is fine for two virgins to get married. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you've already had sex before, there is a way to have that type of intimacy as virgins do. And what I'm saying is that the waiting, because a lot of times the waiting is the excitement. The intimacy is not always two people physically having sex. A woman's type of intimacy is different from a man's. But actually, the man waiting for the woman actually is a benefit for him as well.
Okay.
If he actually is intimate with a woman by touching, treating her well, opening the door, treating her like a lady, he will actually reap the benefits of when the time does come for them, when they do come together. And it doesn't always have to be a virgin and a virgin, because people do have experiences and they are not virgins anymore. But you can get to a point to where when you do get in a relationship, you can start over and you can wait and you can still have that sexual experience as a virgin. I do believe that can happen.
Okay.
I believe
I
that
think
can happen.
another way to do that is to let go of your expectations based on your previous experiences.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. I think we have just one question from an audience member.
Okay. Well, I have a question. Would you guys be in a relationship, with a man and a woman, and the woman couldn't have an orgasm? Is that a situation, a big situation? But she likes the sex, but she doesn't have an orgasm.
I love the challenge.
Trying to get her there.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are some? Okay.
That's just me. I
got
enjoy
you.
the challenge.
Well,
I'm a
see,
Leo.
But I think that question should be answered by a woman.
That's what I'm asking.
Because she's the one that's having the orgasm, right?
And does the size increase the orgasm for y'all?
A woman is stimulated in more than one way. A woman is stimulated by her mind. A woman is stimulated by communication, touch, and it may be some women that disagree. Size does matter in a way, because some men can be too big, and some women I've known that say that he's too big and I can't take it. It's not comfortable. But the thing about it, if a man communicates with the woman and asks her questions, because sex is just not for a woman. It's just not in the bed.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
It's a communication thing. And I also believe if she doesn't communicate with him that he's not doing the job, how would he know that he's not doing? Because
Communication is very
because a woman can fake it and say that it is good, and the man never knows. So it really is a communication thing, and a man should not get offended if he is not.
getting her where she needs to be.
Yes, but if they work together and they talk about it, then I believe that it can get to that point.
Which goes back
it
to
can.
good communication, like we talked about a
Right.
little bit earlier in our earlier segment.
Yes.
Now, Norma, I'm going to ask you, how important is it? And we're about to wrap this thing up. It's almost like I want to go all night long with this thing. But how important is it to be honest when it comes to being sexually satisfied and or having an orgasm as a female? Because some females will fake, like it was said a moment ago. Should you fake orgasms with your husband, or should you be honest with your husband or the person that you're with?
Well, if you're married, I don't feel that, you have to fake it. You should just let him know that either you're not in the mood, so ain't no sense of faking it. But I've also been told from a marriage point of view, whether you in the mood or not, that's just your wifely duty. Mm-hmm. However, that in this day and time, I'm speaking for myself. I'm gonna just let you know. If I'm not in the mood, I'm just not in the mood. Unless he can do something to get me there.
Right. Okay.
Because that happens. That happens in relationships. That happens in marriages. The foreplay, the conversation. Any of that takes place to get that mood. It has to be a mood. You have to get it right. But for it's like just not being married, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just not gonna sugarcoat it.
And I agree. And let me say this about that, and I know we're about to wrap up. But what happens when you sugarcoat it or you pretend that you are being satisfied, that person will continue doing those same things thinking that you're satisfied.
Exactly.
Right.
It's kind of like going to a mechanic and saying, I need a tire, but actually it's the motor that's broke. And so if you don't tell the truth about the motor,
Right.
then it ain't gonna never get up and running again the way it needs to.
That's right.
And so he's trying to fix a problem that he don't even. Oh,
He don't know
he
anything
think he
about.
tan. He think it's on.
He thinks he doing the do.
And he come to find out it really ain't happening because you lying. So just tell me the truth, and then that way I can work on fixing that. And you can tell me, okay, I need you to move a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right, whatever it is. I'm just
I
asking.
think he's standing up in it and he not.
And he not, and you sit there like, how much longer this guy? We just keep, again, this is a good adult conversation. We're talking about relationships and things that happen and take place in relationships, and it is hilarious as hell at some points, I ain't gonna lie. But I've had such a wonderful time with this relationship segment. I'm sure you guys have had a wonderful time with it too. All right. Now, for more information on the Farrell Phelps Show, you can certainly reach me at Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. That's Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. You can also go to our YouTube channel and just simply type in the name Farrell Phelps. You'll see all of my segments right there. I hope you've been inspired, motivated, and educated in some kind of way from this discussion tonight. All right, until next time, we'll see you then.